Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers presented by Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me live in the Xfinity studio, it is Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck?
William, I have important news.
Ooh.
So the important news is...
You shaved the mustache?
I did shave the obviously fake mustache.
The
important news is I had a lot of people in my mentions who were at the game last night wondering what the mouse costume that was hanging out, the mascot costume that was hanging out with Gritty all night was. Apparently, it is for ABC Mouse. They were doing, it's like a digital learning program. So all throughout the second and third periods, Gritty was hanging out with this random mascot in a mouse costume. Yeah, it's apparently ABC Mouse. So just if you were wondering that, ABC Mouse.
When you say ABC Mouse, I'm picturing Mickey?
No, this is not related to Disney.
Okay. They might need to change the name of that.
So if you were wondering, that's your answer.
Listen, we have a ton of stuff to get to. We have some news, we have some topics, rumors, all sorts of stuff. Before we get into any of it, I want to talk about hats. That's right, because we have new hats over at the PHLY store. Go to allphly.com, click that merch tab. These hats are dope. I've already ordered one for me and one for a friend. The Flyers logo one, that flying P, really cool. But we have a whole bunch of new hats available at allphly.com. Just click that merch tab. Get yourself a hat. They're sick. And I'm going to be wearing one pretty soon. So you want to look like me, get a hat. All right, speaking of stuff.
Is that really a good sell?
Yeah, I think so. My wife tells me I'm handsome.
I'm glad Ava thinks you're handsome, Bill.
No, she married me for the money, obviously.
Clearly.
We'll have a Monarch read coming up soon. No, anyway, we are also still running our giveaway. You got to get in on this right now because we are giving away on our website 10, that's right, 10 general admission tickets to the Flyers Charities Carnival, which is on February 1st. You're going to want to go to that. It's always a great time. We do a live show from there. All Flyers fans love this thing. It is just a great time to be amongst the team, be in the building, and, you know, give to a good cause. But that's not all. We're giving away the 10 general admission tickets, but guess what else? We have 2 grand prizes. You can also get a ticket that includes a sign and snap with one of Cam York or Travis Sanheim. 12 winners in total. All you got to do is scan that QR code on your screen right now or check out our website to enter to be one of our 12 winners. All right. Yeah, make sure you do that. All right, lots of stuff. So let's see how much of this outline we can get to today, Charlie. A couple of newsy things. We talked about this a little bit last night because Ty Murchison didn't know whether he should leave his helmet or bring it with him back to Lehigh. Well, at least as of practice today, he's not back in Lehigh. He's still in Voorhees.
He's still here. Yeah, because he doesn't have 2 sets of equipment. He has to bring his equipment basically everywhere he goes. That said, basically, the way I was looking at it was whether he was taking it to Voorhees or whether he was taking it back to Lehigh Valley. Like, that was a possibility. It was a possibility that he was packing up because he was going back. Apparently, he's not yet. And it seems like, while Cam York did skate today, so good sign there, he did not skate in the primary D-pair rushes.
Okay.
Ty Murchison did. And it seems like Ty Murchison is probably going to play, at least on Thursday, against the Vegas Golden Knights. And Rick Tocchet seemed impressed and at least left the door open that, hey, if he has another good game, we might have to make some tough decisions. Now, what those tough decisions might be, I can venture a guess that one might probably be involved with one Yegor Zamula because, look, the writing's on the wall here with that. Doesn't seem like Noah Juulsen's the guy who's the odd man out on that front. Seems like Zamula is. But at the very least, looks like Murchison's going to get one more game. And if he plays well, maybe they'll be thinking about keeping him and finding a way to move on from Yegor.
This was a conversation that Kelly and I had pre and post game last night. Whether it's Murchison, whether it's Grundstrom, whether it's player they haven't called up yet or want to give another look to, whatever. When the bottom of your lineup is giving you nothing. Now, your third D pair, your fourth line, you're not expecting the world here. You're not even expecting like average. You're just hoping to break even. But when they're a minus, as has been the case, just like what they're giving you game to game is hurting you, you have to start to experiment at some point. They did that with Grundstrom. You see that. He scores a goal the first goal for the Flyers' fourth line all season comes off the stick of Carl Grundstrom and Ty Murchison on that third D pair with Noah Juleson. This is what they should be doing right now. Because you look at the top 9, all right, maybe we could move some things around. Not everyone loves Michkov tied to Coots. We all want to see Zegras play center at some point, but like top 9, especially with Forster out, is pretty much set here.
Yeah.
Like this is what you're going to be rolling with until, you know, maybe they call up bump or something. But
Yeah, or somebody gets hurt.
Yeah, someone gets hurt again. But this is what you have. You need to experiment. And I really like the idea that they're experimenting here. I'm glad I would have tried it a week ago, but I'm glad it's finally getting to the point where someone's like, you know, I think you said it, quoting Tocchet, talking about that third D pair, like, you know, they're trying. The coach's job is
Not a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, when the coach, like, especially like a veteran coach who's media savvy, like, he knows what he's got to go up there and say. He's not going to rip his guys, all that. Like, when that's the best he can come up with, maybe it's time to try something else. I'm just glad they tried something else.
And Zamula was brutal in his last game.
Yeah.
He had a really bad game. He got bailed out on one, like, should have been a goal because it got disallowed. Doesn't mean that he didn't make the bad play.
Yeah, he still made the play.
Yeah, like, it may
happened.
not count in the score sheet, but it counts in our brains.
The film exists.
Yeah, we remember it.
I watched it on the television. The other newsy thing, as you just alluded to, Charlie, York skating and Risto skating.
Yep.
I saw one tweet. You just said they were skating. I saw one that said regular jerseys, not non-contact. Can you confirm?
They were wearing regular jerseys.
But they weren't in, like, the main line rushes.
Yeah, I mean, they did all the things. They
Yeah.
they competed in practice. They weren't avoiding contact, but when they run the line in D-pair rushes, you had York with Zamula, and Risto wasn't even in rushes. So, because they had 9 defensemen in this practice, because you know you have 2 injured guys, you have Murchison called up, you got Zamula still here, so pretty full practice for defensemen. Didn't have enough. I was wondering if they were going to have Risto skate with Delorier. I think Delorier was drafted as a defenseman.
He was,
So
yeah.
he does have experience at the position, but they did not. They just did not have Risto run through. Look, right now, what it's clear it's going on with Ristolainen, and I do think he's going to come back in the relatively near future. It might be a couple weeks, might be a week. We'll see. He's basically going through his training camp right now. Like, this is Ristolainen's training camp.
All right.
So even though he's been cleared for contact, even though he's probably physically capable of playing in a game, they don't want to throw him out there just to get re-injured because he's not fully in shape. This is his 2 to 3 weeks of training camp that the other guys got in September and early October that he didn't get because he couldn't skate with the team.
All right, so that is, I guess, the update on all the injuries we know about. Obviously, Tyson Forster, you know, is still quite a while away, but reinforcements are coming in terms of Cam York returning and Rasmus Ristolainen making his season debut. Looking forward to both because I never thought I'd get to the point where I'm like, man, could really use Risto. But here we are. I am missing Risto a little bit.
He's basically Noah Juleson,
Yeah.
but better.
Yeah.
So you're getting it's not even you have to worry about the stylistic fit. Like, Noah Juleson plays the same style as
Right-handed
Risto,
physical defense.
just a less effective version of it. So presumably you put Risto in, and after he gets over his rust, because I'm sure he won't be at full form to start, but once he gets past the rust, they presumably have a significant upgrade on their D-core, and that is something to look forward to.
Something to keep an eye on there with a couple of defensemen nearing return. But that's not the big deal. What we're getting to now is the big deal, presented by Cherry Hill Jeep. That's right, Charlie. It's your favorite topic today in the big deal. It's so important that we've made it the big deal. It's all of the Michkov.
The Michkov drama.
Yeah, the Matvei Michkov.
I love talking about Matvei Michkov, about the cool things he does. I
nice.
just don't love talking about the drama, but it's a thing, and we got to talk about it.
It is happening, and it's once it gets to the point of the national media discussing it, and that's what's happening now. Whatever you think about Spit and Chicklets, they are like the biggest hockey podcast in the world.
Yeah,
and
biggest audience.
And
they're listened to by a lot of people in the game.
And Paul
especially
Bisonette is, you know, one of, I think it's him and Friedman, like the 2 top media members in hockey, I would say, just in terms of connections and reach. And that's what we're looking at right now on the Spit and Chicklets pod. In discussing the Quinn Hughes situation, because it just feels inevitable at this point. I mean, their GM in the summer was basically setting his fans up for it. Like, listen, he wants to play with his brothers. If that's the case, I don't know what I can do. I guess I could try to get Luke and Jack, but that seems difficult. So,
I'm sure the Devils would be willing to do that.
So, like, this just kind of seems like one of those inevitabilities. In discussing that, the idea of what's going on with Matvei Michkov was kind of mixed into this conversation. So we're going to listen to this clip from Spit and Chicklets, and then we're going to have a little conversation about it.
In fairness, I saw some tweet about Philly being like,
well, yeah, that's, to me, that was probably at one of the top of the list because of talk.
But here's the thing, and what I saw was said was that Philly believes that they can get him and then kind of flip him, change his mind to have him sign long-term there. I don't know the Hughes brothers at all, but I'm telling every other team, you cannot trade, like, he's signing in New Jersey. Like, am I crazy?
No.
There's no way he's not going to sign there.
I would trade Michkov straight up for Quinn Hughes in a second. Do you think that they would take that as a 1-for-1, or do you think they're going to want more?
Because with the uncertainty of him,
he's got a year and a half left. You know he's not coming back. Would you just rather have Michkov on this year on entry level? You got him next year on entry level, and hopefully he turns out to what you'd expect. But with the way that he showed up in training camp the way he did, I agree with you, Whit. Like, I think that he could be maybe a point per game player, but he doesn't move very well. And that would scare me
Welcome to the Terror Dome.
No, buddy, it's not even that. Like, if anyone with a brain is just watching, like, he does not have a long, fluid stride. He has a choppy stride. And, like, that's not... What does everybody talk about how you can be an elite player in the league now? You have to be able to skate. That's not
the only way.
That's
the only way.
It's not going to change overnight. Like, I don't know if he's got that hip mobility where he can just, he doesn't look like McKinnon, like a gazelle through the middle of the ice, right? You got to be able to.
I think he can be a 40-40 guy. Like,
sure.
He was the 6th overall pick, right? Like,
sure.
Dude, that is a fucking elite level NHL player. I just mentioned sometimes that he doesn't skate like, yeah, you say Quinn Hughes. That's a defense. He doesn't skate like McKinney. He doesn't skate like McDavid. Like, not everyone does, but there is a difference watching him. He's hunched over, incredibly skilled. But in terms of 1-for-1, I think Vancouver still wants more. But Philly's got to be like, if they somehow do this, it's like, you could think you can switch him and flip him and make him sign there. There's no way. Maybe Detroit he would, but how in the hell is that guy not going to sign in Jersey when he's able to? Like, his brothers are there. What are we talking about?
All right, so let's work backwards here. There's a lot going on in that clip.
You really wanted to break this down, so I will humor you and break this down.
Well, the first thing, the idea of this 1-for-1 trade. You and Steve got to do a mini pod just about the idea of acquiring Quinn Hughes. I wasn't here that day. If Quinn Hughes is available, I think all should be on the table because he's a legitimate superstar.
Yeah, it's a great player.
That said, he can't sign until July an extension. And as they just said in that clip, it seems inevitable he's going to New Jersey. I'm not giving up anything close to an A-tier asset, like maybe one first and some other pieces and stuff. But like, I'm not giving up Michkov or Martone or anything I'm counting on to be a cornerstone. If it's, we're going to have him for a year and a half. Like, that's asinine. That's absolutely asinine. So that part of it, like, if they would do it 1-for-1, if Philly would do it 1-for-1, it doesn't matter because without an extension in place, you're just basically being like, all right, we're going to cross our fingers that we can change his mind about hanging out with his brothers for the next 10 years. Like, that seems foolish.
Yeah.
But so that's that part of it.
Yeah, because there's a couple things here before we get into the other part of it.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 points about that I want to make. The first point is everything that I've heard is that, yeah, of course the Flyers are interested in Quinn Hughes.
So are 31 other teams.
But number one, they're not interested in trading Matvei Michkov or Porter Martone for him. And number two, and this is arguably the more important part, these kinds of trades, like this is what always happens when you're in the public negotiating part of these kinds of trades. The team that's trying to trade the guy is like, we're only going to do it for a haul. We're only going to do it for a haul. And then what invariably happens is they make the trade and they get pieces. They get quality prospects. They might get a good second liner or second pair defenseman, get a first round pick and maybe a second round pick. but it's never as big
No.
as the team tries to present that it's going to be before the trade. Like, I do not see a world where a young player or prospect anywhere near, and not even just talking the Flyers, I'm talking about whatever team ultimately gets Quinn Hughes, where the centerpiece of that deal is anywhere near as good as a Matvei Michkov or a Porter Martone. I just don't think that's going to happen because history tells us that that doesn't happen. When a guy like this gets traded, when a Mark Stone, when a Jack Eichel gets traded, they don't get traded for
value.
Like, not even value, just not for a guy that the general consensus is potential future superstar. Those guys don't get traded in these kinds of deals. So to me, the reason why Bisonette is bringing up Michkov as a potential option and not like ruling it out of hand is because Paul Bisonette doesn't view Michkov as elite. This is more about Bisonette's view of Michkov, which I do not believe the Flyers share.
All right, and that's what makes this the big deal, presented by Cherry Hill Jeep. It's the Michkov end of this, because the trade stuff, who the hell knows? You know, we could do the whole show on it and not have any answers because it's all hypothetical. The Michkov part of this, people took this as, because again, the connections, it's Paul Bisonette. When he speaks, people kind of are like, well, where's he getting that from? Because he talks to everybody. He is like a even bigger Jonesy, you know? People think because of the connection with Tocchet that this is him parroting the coach of the team. That this idea that he's just not a good enough skater to be the guy we thought he could be when we watched him be awesome for 2/3 of last season. Maybe that potential doesn't really exist, and it comes down to the skating, maybe the shape he showed up in, all that. Is the skating enough of a problem that you watch him and go, yeah, he could be a 40-40 guy, but he's not going to be a 110 guy?
I mean, it's a question that's worth being answered with nuance, because if you're asking me right now, Michkov in his current skating form, can that guy be a 110-point guy? The answer is absolutely not. He can't be. He can't be that. If you're asking me, do I think he's going to stay at this level of skating through the entirety of his career? I don't think he is, because I think he's going to get better. Because I think as he gets fitter, I think as he gets stronger, as he gets on a professional, like if he stays this summer and gets on the Flyers weight program, I think there are enormous leaps he can make in terms of his skating ability. This version of Michkov? Nah, this version of Michkov does probably top out as a 40-40 guy at best. That's probably his ceiling. But the idea that that's all he's ever going to be, to me, is insane. This is a guy who we know has a really, really good work ethic, who has the drive to be one of the best. Why are they assuming that this is all he's ever going to be physically? Guys get better at skating all the time. We've watched Tyson Forrester go from god-awful to passably decent. And he did that between the ages of 19 and 22. Why is it impossible that Michkov can't get better? I'm expecting Michkov to get better at skating.
And he did just come out and say, like, and it's not often we get to hear him speak. Did he not just confirm, like, yeah, I'm probably staying this summer? Yeah. Like, he knows he screwed up.
Yeah. Or he just knows that he needs to.
Or he needs, more direction.
If he knows that if he wants to be as good as he wants to be, that he needs to go hard. He needs to go as hard as possible. And why not work under the tutelage and the training of like professional NHL trainers for 2.5 months to get to that point? I believe Michkov has the drive to want to be not just a great player, but the best player. And if he wants to be that, why wouldn't he do everything he can to be that?
All right, we are going to come back on the other side with more of this. I want to get Charlie's take on the Tocchet of all of it. But right now, got to tell you about Xfinity. If you call yourself a sports fan, you just absolutely have to have Xfinity, because Xfinity is the ultimate sports destination. There's no switching between 20 different apps. There's no lagging, no buffering, just all the best games and all your favorite teams all in one place. And the way you watch, it's next level, because Xfinity gives you the best picture and sound with the enhanced 4K. Not to mention, you can watch up to 4 games at once with the multi-view. Big sports night, you don't have to choose. You just go with Xfinity. And with Xfinity, Xfinity, you get live stats and notifications right on your TV so you can keep up with all your parlays and keep up with all your fantasy teams. Next game day, make sure you're a big fan and not a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365, they've got the 90 million users worldwide. They've got the live stream of almost 800,000 events each year. But right now, I got to tell you about the early payout offer, my favorite feature on the Bet365 Sportsbook. With the early payout offer, you're a winner if your team gains 3-goal lead. That's it. That simple. You bet them on the money line or you make them part of your parlay, you're automatically a winner with a 3-goal lead for NHL bets. And we have breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. All you got to do, sign up, use code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and in PA. If you're someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, so the conversation about like what Michkov is and what he could be, you know, I think there is a little consternation, one of the words I use constantly on the show.
It's a good word.
I
like
because we're seeing guys come in at such a young age and be awesome, Celebrini, Bedard, etc. That it's like, okay, he's only 21 and literally turned 21 yesterday. Maybe he should be more advanced. I'm not there. Like, that's not my opinion.
The funny thing is, I don't think it's that. Like, yeah, maybe that's a little bit of it, but I think it boils down to something far more base level. I think Flyers fans are just jealous. I think really it's just like people are looking at Bedard having his breakout and Celebrini having his breakout, and it's just like, why can't we have that too? And I think that's where a lot of this consternation, as you put it, is coming from. It's just, and you know what? Fans are allowed to be jealous.
Yeah,
fans are allowed to be like, I want the shiny new toy right now. I want to unwrap it, and I want it to be awesome right now. I think that's where a lot of the frustration is coming from, because people are looking at guys around the league, young guys. A lot of guys seem to be taking big steps and scoring points, and it's like, why can't our guy do that?
And you look at the difference in the numbers. Like, as a rookie, Michkov, especially at this point in the season, this is when he was the point-a-game player as a rookie. 27 games, averaging over 17.5 minutes a game. This year, he has as many points as he had assists in one more game played so far this season. Obviously, the ice time's way down. We can not talk about ice time today, Charlie. I'll grant you that.
One thing that would be interesting, and I've not done this, it's literally just popped in my head. I wonder what the average ice time would be for his rookie year if you give him zeros
for scratch. If he was just benched. yeah, if he was just sitting on the bench a la Cam York rather than...
Like, would it actually be basically identical if you consider those scratches to be 0 minute per game games?
That's a good point, because it's 27 games that rookie year, but it's 29 team games.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit there.
It's just
that is interesting.
It just popped in my head.
I'll do that math at some point. No, that is funny. You look at the drop in production and you look at the new coach, and I think that's where a lot of, like, I heard about this clip before I actually saw it, and it seemed like it was being framed as, well, this is definitive proof. Tocchet just don't like him. When Tocchet talks about Matvei Michkov, do you hear a guy who's just like, yeah, man, I know the GM and president think he's going to be a star, but I don't see it. Like, do you get that impression? Because that's not when I heard of the clip, that's what I thought I was going to hear. And that's not what I'm hearing when it's actually like out loud played.
I do get the impression that there is definite skepticism on Tocchet's part about the player that Michkov is now.
Okay.
That I 100% believe is true. I think Tocchet believes that Michkov's defensive play is not up to snuff. That's a big reason why his ice time is still down, even though now he's in my mind, significantly better shape, significantly better fitness level. So there's that. And I think he looks at Michkov today as much more of a work in progress player today compared to the way the fans see him. The fans see Michkov, and I get it. Like, he scored a ton of points last year. He's awesome. He definitely views present day Michkov lower than the fans do, 100%. I don't get the sense, though, that he is out on long-term Michkov. I just don't think he is as high on this version of Michkov as the fans are. But I don't think that means that he just thinks that this kid just don't got it.
We saw them, we were like, oh, look at Tocchet. This is in training camp, watching him work with Michkov. And it was like, well, this is the difference in having not just a former player, but a former great player as your head coach. Like, he can really get in there and like not just tell him what to do, but explain it and give him the why of like what it takes to be this kind of player. And, we saw him, dishing him one-timers in training camp and everything. In-season practice, obviously a lot different. Do you think the relationship is bad? Like,
no, I do not think the relationship is bad. I actually think it's getting measurably better. I did a piece on Saturday. If you haven't read it, go check it out at allphly.com for diehards only, because it's an extended feature. But it's basically about why Michkov is starting to score more than he did in the first 13 games of the season. Obviously, last two he hasn't gotten a point. So I guess now we're back to talking about him slumping. But, But overall, he scored much better in his second 13 games than he did in his first 13 games. His second 13 games, he was on pace for the exact same amount of points he scored in his rookie year. So I would say, even accounting for the fact the last two games he hasn't scored that much, he's still doing significantly better. Check out that piece. But in that piece, I did a lot of digging on the relationship between Michkov and Tocchet, and Tocchet. And the thing with Tocchet is that I believe, especially in the beginning of the year, I think the two sides were struggling to communicate. And I'm not just talking language-wise. Tocchet basically admitted on the record that they probably overloaded Michkov with too much stuff at the start of the year. That they were trying to teach a new system, they were trying to implement new standards, and they were overloading him. And they think he was kind of making the kid's head spin. He was trying to do too many things. He was overthinking on the ice, and then the production went down. It seems like over the last 3-4 weeks, it's getting better. That they're getting a better handle on how to get him the information they want to get him without having him get overwhelmed by it. I've also heard some positive stories about the way they interact, that basically that like Michkov is now regularly, like when he comes back to the bench in between shifts in a game, that there will be times where he'll turn to Tocchet and he'll be like, my bad, I messed up on that one, like unprompted. Tocchet isn't even having to be like, hey, you missed that. It's like, no, that was my fault. That Tocchet, because Tocchet is learning that he can't have, like, if he sees something in game that Trevor Zegras messed up, he can just go over, tap him on the shoulder, and then scream in his ear, this is what you got to do. You can't do that with a guy who English isn't his first language. So what they've been starting to do now, especially at home when you have this option easier, between periods, during intermission, he'll call Michkov into his office, and they'll go over tape in the middle of a game and walk through plays of like, this is what I saw, this is what you should do in this situation. So it's getting the in-game instruction in a way that they weren't getting to him in October. Also, I've heard some funny stories about, like, for example, the idea of him switching over to left wing. And that Michkov originally was like, I don't think this is really working.
That's what I was going to ask you about next, because Tocchet has said a lot of positive things about, well, we're trying to get him to play faster, and that's why that's what I'm looking at. Like, he's working with him, and this is like something he's clearly explained, and it's starting to work.
Yeah, so the story I heard about the left wing thing was he moved to left, was at left for a while, had 3 straight games with goals. Michkov comes to him and is like, so are you going to move him back to right? And Tocchet's like, I don't know. You just scored 3 straight games with goal. Like, I don't really want to change that. And Michkov apparently was like, I don't think that's because I was at left. And Tocchet's like, I kind of think it was. I think that was part of it. Then the very next game, that's the game where Michkov scores the breakaway goal against the Devils. And he scored that goal in no small part because he's able to get that pass on his forehand. He's skating forward. That's the whole reason why they want him playing left wing right now, because he can use his speed in the rush more. And Michkov apparently comes back to the bench with this big grin on his face. It's just like, left side? Like, so it does,
strong side.
It does seem like they are building more of a rapport. It seems like the communication is better. I think the real discrepancy here, at its core, the discrepancy between Tocchet and his view of Michkov and the fans and his view of Michkov, I don't think it's that Tocchet doesn't think this kid can be great. I think it's that Tocchet doesn't think he's great now. And the fans do. And that's where the discrepancy lies. But I don't think that, well, that discrepancy is going to lead to people being mad that he's not getting minutes. It's going to lead to that because people want Michkov to get minutes. I want Michkov to get more minutes. I do. But while that will lead to a conflict over how he's being used now, I think it's going too far to say that it's going to lead to like him getting traded because Tocchet just thinks this kid don't got it. I think that is going too far based on everything I've seen and heard.
One more, and then we will go to the next break. But how much do you think that it's like a hanging offense? Like there's a cloud over the perception of Michkov from the staff, whoever, because of the way he came into camp, overweight, out of shape, whatever. Do you think that there's like, yeah, maybe it's hindering his ability to play, his A game in the third period of a 3-4 or whatever. But do you think just Tocchet's resistant to maybe give him more minutes or more responsibility because he's like, I don't know, like, can I trust this kid? Do you think that exists at all? And I know you're not as a psychologist. You don't read his diary.
I don't know for sure, but honestly, I would guess probably, because it does seem like Tocchet is, maybe it's just the way he came up, but it seems like he's very much a guy who, like, coming to camp in shape is a big friggin' deal. Like, that was something that he complained about with Pedersen, remember? Like, that was a sticking point with him. So, yeah, I think it probably did negatively predispose him to Michkov from the jump. That said, everything I've heard is that Michkov's been working his tail off to get into better condition over the course of the season, and you're seeing it on the ice. He looks quicker. He looks like he's fitter. He looks like he's playing faster. Some of that is confidence, but some of that I suspect is that he's just in better shape. So I think that is helping change Tocchet's impression of him. And number two, and this is the big thing, I really think all it's going to take is one summer of Michkov just going balls to the wall and showing up to camp in like the best shape of anybody. And then Tocchet's going to be like, that's what I want. I don't think it's like a hold grudge type of thing. Like, I think it's just like, yeah, he's maybe a little disappointed that the guy didn't come to camp in the best of shape. And you made a mistake, kid. Okay, don't make it again. And then if next summer he doesn't make it again, okay, let's roll.
All right, I lied. There is one more here. I'm sorry, Bren. How much of the fan reaction of, they're going to screw it up and he's going to want out and all this stuff, like, do you think this is just a lot of Cutter scars? Like, Cutter Gauthier, like...
Do you think so? I mean, maybe.
Because
I think it's just scars in general. I think fans are just scarred because they're used to bad things happening to the Flyers, especially when it comes to their young guys. Nolan Patrick, Cutter Gauthier. Like, even you're talking like Eric Lindros. Like, yeah, Lindros had a Hall of Fame career, but he could have been one of the greatest of all time.
He maybe was as good as he was sold. It was just like, well, he skates with his head down now, so he's not quite as good.
Is it Cutter scars? I think it's just scars.
Okay. All right. That's really, I think we've handled that well. We're a half hour into the show. On the other side, we do have more trade stuff to talk about. Trade. I'm just trying to pump up the algorithm here. We're going to talk about some Owen Tippett stuff going on, but now it's time for our second break. I got to tell you about something I discovered. It's Aura Frames. They make the absolute best Christmas gifts because if you're a last-minute shopper like me, maybe you're trying to get something really special for someone, but you never know exactly what to get. You don't want to get gift cards. Those are so impersonal. Why not get them the gift of togetherness? That's what an Aura frame gives you. It's really difficult sometimes to go out, find that perfect gift, but Aura Frames makes it so easy because you can upload unlimited photos and just download the Aura app, connect to Wi-Fi. It's super easy. Anyone can do it, even your technologically impaired parents. And you can even upload photos before it ships, so you can give your parents the gift of all the memories before they even open the box, and each one comes in a special gift box. So for a limited time, you can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter. All you gotta do is use code PHLY at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code PHLY. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. And support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Now it's time to tell you about Monarch, because this holiday season, you know how easy it is to go over budget. It happened to me all the time before I started using Monarch, because Monarch breaks down everything for you: where your money's coming in, where it's going out, where you could be saving more, where you might be able to even spend more because you have a little bit more money than you thought. So if you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch, rated Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface on your laptop or your phone. And right now, just for our listeners, Monarch is offering 50% off our first year. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code PHLY at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code PHLY. All right, while there is some Owen Tippett stuff to get to, you made a point to me about the idea of trading Michkov off the air before the show started that I think it's pretty decent point that you could make, Charlie.
Yeah, and this goes into why I've made it clear both on social media and on the show that, like, I don't think Matvei Michkov is going to get traded anytime soon. I think that is more fan speculation and fan fears than anything else. And I'm going to explain maybe part of why I'm so confident about that. So let's envision a world here. And to be clear, this is not what I think is actually going on. But let's enter a world where it is true that Rick Tocchet actually does hate Matvei Michkov, that Rick Tocchet actually does believe that Matvei Michkov just don't got that dog in him, that he's not a good enough skater, that he's not going to be a very good player, and that the Flyers should trade him. Let's accept that premise to be true.
Yep.
Even if all of that is true, I still don't think they'll trade him. And my reasoning for that is, from literally day one of John Tortorella's tenure in Philadelphia, he was like, get rid of Morgan Frost. This dude stinks. I don't want him on my team. I'm going to scratch him constantly. I'm going to screw with his ice time. I'm going to take passive-aggressive shots with him in the media all the time. I'm going to do this until you trade him. And it still took Danny Briere 2.5 years to trade him. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And Danny Briere did not draft Morgan Frost the way he drafted Matvei Michkov. Matvei Michkov was Danny Briere's first draft pick. Okay?
Yes.
Danny Briere and Keith Jones went to the airport and carried this guy's luggage. Okay? Morgan Frost was just a guy who wore Danny Briere's number. And he waited 2.5 years to finally concede to the coach, being like, this dude is trash. Get him off my team. Matvei Michkov has so much higher of an upside than Morgan Frost. It's bonkers. And Danny Briere has way more ties to Michkov than he ever had to Morgan Frost. And if he was willing to be that patient with Morgan Frost, I really do not see a world where Danny Briere is going to give up on his prize centerpiece of the rebuild after 30 games because the coach doesn't like him. And I don't even think Tocchet hates him. But even if he did, I don't think Briere is going to up and trade him right away.
Yeah, I would be surprised if that were to happen.
It would shock me.
It would, yeah. It would be, and the centerpiece of this whole thing from Briere's first draft is like, we got this guy. Briere sprinted to go draft him. It would be an admission that I failed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and if you get a superstar like a Quinn Hughes, all right, now we have a whole other thing to worry about, like convincing him not to go play with his brothers because apparently he's friends with Trevor Zegras. But, like, you know, you like Tocchet, you like Zegras. That's basically like having the guys you grew up in a house with. Yeah, like, I don't see it happening immediately by any stretch.
You can't rule anything out.
No, it's the Flyers. But they do crazy
stuff.
stuff.
It would shock me, and that is a big part of why it would shock me.
All right, let's move on to some Owen Tippett things, because another national media outlet was talking about the Flyers and trade rumors. This one was Elliotte Friedman on 32 Thoughts about rumors circulating around Owen Tippett, and we have a quote that I want to read here that Friedman gave us on his I believe Monday's podcast. He says, Owen Tippett has been a name around a lot. I kind of looked into this one a little bit, and I think the Flyers are trying to do everything they can to calm the noise around him. I think it's bothered him a little bit. I think he's heard it. I think the Flyers are trying to say, look, this is not our doing. I think the Canucks did ask about him. I don't think that's going to be happening, but I've heard that the Flyers believe there's another level that they can get Tippett to. His contract, you take a look at where contracts are going, you're going to be okay with that contract, and I think the Flyers see that too. I think they're trying to calm down the noise simply because this is not created by them. Sometimes names are out there because teams are looking to move guys. This is not the case with Tippett, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, well, I think there's two parts of this, and there's one part of it that Elliotte probably, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, and I suspect it's unintentionally, doesn't touch on. I suspect if Tippett really is thrown by this, it's probably not just because his name popped up in a rumor. Because, look, names pop up in rumors all the time. It happens. It's the fact that I'm not saying that Owen Tippett is on social media or checks social media, but even the guys who don't, they get sent shit. They do. Yeah. They get sent stuff from their parents, from their friends, from their relatives, and Flyers Twitter basically from the start of the season has been trying to trade Owen Tippett. So you have all that going on in the background where it's like, okay, well, like there are very vocal people on social media that desperately want me moved, and now there's a report linking me to a trade. Then it becomes, uh-oh, they are going to move me. I'm worried. And the Flyers probably just wanted to make it clear that, look, Owen, we're not trying to trade you.
They asked about you.
Yeah. And I had a conversation with, I think actually might have been Jim Jackson at a practice about this. And I was like, the way you can present it, and you're being honest with the Flyers, with Owen Tippett, if you're the Flyers, is say to him like, look, it sucks being in trade rumors. We get it. But take this as a compliment.
Yeah.
Take it as a compliment that another team wants you, that another team, like we like you, you're on our team. We signed you to a big deal. But there are front office people on other teams who are watching you and they're like, I want that guy too. Take it as a compliment. Take it as validation of what you're doing out there and the quality you are as a player.
Absolutely. And listen, guys are going to interpret things the way they do. And it probably is difficult to hear your name in trade rumors. Like people like me, constantly saying it on shows like this, and it's obviously all over social media. Owen Tippett's the guy. Because it's like, oh, he signed long-term. I don't know. Do we really love Tippett? Yeah, trade him. We're going to have to trade a winger. Let it be him.
You hear it, but you can tell yourself, oh, it's just like random people chattering.
It's just that J.O. Bill who doesn't know anything. Like, yeah, sure. Absolutely. Then when Elliotte Friedman says, oh yeah, the Canucks and Flyers have talked and the Canucks asked about Owen Tippett. And like this was the quote where he was like, yeah, everyone's into Quinn Hughes. This wasn't even a Quinn Hughes conversation. Yeah. And we had are they looking at Kiefer Sherwood? I really hope not.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
And maybe that's what it was. Maybe the Flyers checked in about Kiefer Sherwood and they're like, well, yeah, we do it for Owen Tippett. And the Flyers like, I didn't trade Owen Tippett for that guy.
Listen, I'm not the biggest Tippett fan. No. That is a straight hang-up conversation right there. The chatter, do you think it could be impacting him? Like his actual play on the ice, not so much his state of mind?
I haven't noticed him playing noticeably worse since the rumors came out. Knowing his personality, could I see it having bothered him a little bit? Sure. Yeah, he's a guy he's a very introverted guy who does a lot of thinking. So I could easily see him being a guy who this impacts, but I haven't seen his play fall off a cliff. Maybe it's just something that he might have went into Danny's office and was just like, hey, I want to talk about this because it's kind of bothering me. And then Danny wanted to get it out to Elliotte Friedman that hey, I talked to him personally, but also since clearly he reads the rumors, can you please say this so he knows for sure that I was serious?
And that's the thing is when it happens on 32 Thoughts, the entire league knows about it.
Yeah,
that absolutely. Is again like Chicklets, everyone listens.
Everybody listens.
Everyone in the game listens.
The one tough part about this though for Tippett, and this might be a way for us to transition into this. The one tough part about this for Tippett is look, I don't think the Flyers are trying to trade Owen Tippett. I think they're being 100% honest and sincere about that. That said, if Vancouver calls back up and is like, so we know you're interested in Quinn Hughes, can Owen Tippett be part of the conversation? The Flyers are going to say yes.
If that's the first name they mention, I'm not only not hanging up, putting that on speaker. I might broadcast that. Hey, NBC over across the hall, come listen to me make this awesome trade.
Yeah. So the reality of it is that if the Flyers were at some point to get into serious conversations about Quinn Hughes, everyone, including Owen Tippett, knows that Owen Tippett would not be a deal breaker.
No.
And that does stick in your head.
Here's what I find funny, not just about the idea that he's maybe being affected by his play on the ice, or I don't know, he's had a disappointing year or whatever. funny thing about Owen Tippett's numbers right now. 9 goals, 19 points. That's an 82-game pace of 26 goals, 56 points. His career high from 2023-24, 28 goals, 53 points. So basically the exact same numbers. His 2 big seasons, he averaged 27.5 goals, 51
So this
points.
is just who he is, maybe.
This is his level of production.
Yeah, this might just
He's
be who he
actually
is.
on pace for career highs, or at least in points, and
This might just be who he is.
close to what he scores every year in goals.
Just a good middle six winger with high-end talent who can win you between 5 and 7 games a year, basically single-handedly.
All right, one more on this, and then we can move on. We've talked about Tippett evolving maybe into a bigger leadership role since, you mentioned guys who've been around a while are no longer here, Farabee, Frost, etc. Have you seen that happening, whether on the ice, in the room, when you talk to other people? Is he one of the, oh, yeah, who really helped me was Tip? Like, has that come up at all?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
What I can tell you is that, like, I haven't heard his name come up. Like, we talked to Sean Couturier literally today about something like that. It came up, leadership. And the 2 guys he mentioned of guys who are stepping up into leadership roles more and more are Noah Cates and Cam York. Now,
Makes sense.
This doesn't mean that Owen Tippett isn't in his own way, but he's a quiet guy. So I don't know if he's ever going to be a leader. Now, he's definitely very much in the social group. He's a popular guy in that room. He hangs out. He's one of the guys who hangs out with the boys. He's friends with everybody. They welcomed him into that social group very quickly. I think it's one of the big reasons why he, his level of play jumped up when he joined the Flyers. I haven't heard that he's establishing himself as a team leader the way that guys like Cates and York appear to be. That doesn't mean he isn't. Just means I haven't heard his name.
All right. With that, we have to take our final break, but stay tuned because we have a lot more to get to, including I'm going to start paying a cartwheel debt before Super Chats. This time of year always feels like a reset. The holidays are coming, and yeah, the days are shorter. Our time is shorter. Everyone wants something for you during the holidays. I know when I get home from work, the last thing I feel like doing, preparing a great meal for my wife and I, and that's why Factor has been a game changer for us because I love their chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals. They make it so easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the holiday season gets, and you can choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. From more choices to better nutrition, that's why 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. Feel the difference no matter your routine. I use this and you should too. Eat smart at factormeals.com/PHLY50 off and use code PHLY50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code PHLY50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat delivered meals with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Now, speaking of gifts, the best place to get gifts, it's Bucci Jeweler. We all know the feeling. You walk into a jewelry store, you're trying to pick out something perfect for your partner, but it's stressful. You don't know anything about diamonds. You don't know anything other than you're going to be spending a ton of money. You want to get the right thing, and that's why working with Joe and Michelle at Bucci Jewelers has been so awesome for me. These guys make the whole process seamless. From the minute you walk in, they treat you like family, and they actually listen. They help you figure out what they'll love, and then their team designs something completely custom right there in-house. There's no pressure, pushy sales vibe, just good people who love what they do, and at the end result, you get something you're proud to give to your partner. So next time you need that perfect piece, go see Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design. 30 plus years in the game, voted Philly's #1 jeweler year after year. Over 1,000 5-star reviews speak for themselves. Check them out today at BucciJewelers.com and tell them PHLY sent you. It is now time for The Future is Bright, presented by Shady Rays. And now, follow me on this, because it's not going to make sense as a future is bright immediately, but based on the answer you gave me last night, it leads to future is bright, Charlie.
Okay.
Christian Dvorak. He turns 30 years old on February 2nd. He has 7 goals and 19 points in 28 games. He is basically the 1C right now. They were matched up, even with Trevor Zegras. Kind of a hard matchup last night on Celebrini.
They got the McKinnon matchup too.
Yeah, he signed a 1-year, $5.4 million deal on July 1st, which makes him eligible for an extension basically when the New Year's Eve game ends against Calgary. I'm not advocating here. I'm just laying out the possibilities because, last time I talked about this, people can't believe you want to resign this guy. I'm just talking about there's 3 things they could do. All right. First thing, you trade him at the deadline. The deadline this year is March 6th. It's like 4 or 5 games out of the Olympic break. You trade him at the deadline. He's a valuable middle 6 center. Half the league needs a 2 or 3C. He's winning 56% of his faceoffs. He's producing at a 56-point pace. And he's playing almost 17 minutes a night on a team that isn't freaking bad. You look at what they got for Scott Lawton, a first-round pick, a future, but still a first-round pick, and Nikita Grabenkin, who looks like he's a decent enough player.
Yeah, agreed.
I think you could get more for Christian Dvorak. Expiring contract, you cover half. You're getting a 2 or 3C at like $2.7 million. Not bad, right? That's one of the possibilities. This could also, basically, you and I talked about this, the Billy Beane trading his first baseman, so they had to play the other guy.
You trade it, Pena.
Yeah.
You are killing this team.
If Danny Briere is like, dog, I need you to play Zegras at center, and Tocchett's like, well, I'm not gonna. Well, that would leave, if you traded him on deadline day, that would leave 21 games for Zegras to play center at the toughest time of the year. It gets tighter around that time of year. Teams making their playoff push.
It'd be funny if he moved Michkov center.
I was thinking like
so funny.
He's like calling Snowden, being like, make bump a center, whatever. So that's your one possibility there. The other, you keep him for the stretch. You let him walk. Maybe you trade his rights to try to recoup something after the season. For instance, the Flyers gave up a 5th for Kevin Hayes' negotiating rights, that little time period before July 1st where you can re-sign your own guys. Possibility. Third one, you re-sign him. Obviously not for max term. Say it's 3 years, Charlie, because this was the conversation last night. Like, he could be blocking somebody. What center is he really blocking? That's my question. Now, the answer is Luchenko and maybe Zegras, because like Jack Nesbitt's years away. That's not an immediate problem. I made the joke last night. Dvorak could be retired by the time Jack Nesbitt is here playing center in the NHL. Who's he really blocking if you were to keep him on a 3-year deal?
Well, the answer here, and this is the obvious answer, the person he's blocking is Trevor Zegras. Because if you re-sign Dvorak, that is, maybe you're not saying it out loud. Maybe you're still keeping up the fantasy that someday Trevor Zegras is going to be a center. But if you re-sign Christian Dvorak, you are telling the world that Trevor Zegras is a winger, because you are bringing back the guy who is Trevor Zegras' center. It's the entire whole thing. It's like, we're bringing back Trevor Zegras' center because he's helped make Trevor Zegras a great wing. Like, that's the guy he's blocking. And that maybe is why they would consider re-signing him, because they don't think Trevor Zegras is a center.
And that's to my point of what the future is bright here. The Zegras blocking center thing, all right, maybe he is just a winger. If we never find out, though, that's one less spot for wingers. And we do have a ton of wings that we're going to need to get a look at some point. We've talked about this with Bump. Hey, Bump's playing pretty well in the AHL. When are they going to give him a look? Like, I don't know, man. We have 10 top 9 wingers right now, or 10 forwards, 7 of them are wingers that we all think can play in the top 9. We're all set. That is where the future is bright. Is as much as I like the idea of maybe keeping him around, how?
Yeah.
There just isn't the roster space. And I didn't think I would think that when I started laying out all these, like, oh no, I think they can make this work. And like, listen, Jet Luchenko can play 4C. I'm not totally sold that he's like a top 6 center, or at least like definitely a 1C. I'm not sold on that at all. I don't really see this blocking. And that's when I get to the idea of, well, if Zegras is a wing, Michkov is a wing, and Konechny's a wing, where the hell are all these guys going to play? Tyson Forster looks awesome when he's healthy. Where are these dudes going to play? They're telling Owen Tippett, like, don't worry, man, we're not trading you right now.
You're going to have to trade somebody.
You're going to have to trade somebody.
Possibly multiple somebodies.
So of these 3 options, which one do you like the best?
Which one do I like the best?
Deadline trade, keep him and let him walk, maybe trade him, maybe trade his rights, or re-sign.
I wouldn't re-sign him personally.
Okay.
So it would be one of the two, and it would be dependent upon how the Flyers are doing.
There's no way.
I think based on the way they're doing this rebuild, I think there's value in making the playoffs. So I would not do another Sean Walker. I would not trade him if you are in a playoff spot or a couple points out of a playoff spot. I would not do that. I don't think you can do that again to the guys in the room and not have a straight up revolt. So I don't think they're going to do that. I honestly don't think they should do that. So if they stay good, I would go with keep him for the stretch, let him walk. Say, hey, you did a great job helping Trevor Zegers refine his game, shake hands and let him go. That's what I would do. Now, if they fall off a cliff and they're way out of the playoff mix, then I would trade him in a heartbeat. Sure.
That's the other part of this is there's really no way. Like, yeah, man, if they lose 20 in a row between now and then, like, yeah, trade him because you think.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Then it's a no-brainer. But there's no way to really know until we're closer to there. And like, are they in the playoff mix simply because the whole East is what it is, or are they in the playoff mix because they're currently in a spot? You know, like until we get to the Olympics, really, there's no way to actually.
I just think the Flyers have made their bet. Like, this is the way they're doing it. The way they are doing their rebuild is that this is the year where their goal is to be competitive and have these young guys get at least meaningful game experience, if not playoff experience. And they believe that that is going to pay dividends over the long term. Now, I want to see if their plan will work. I don't know if it's going to work. Maybe it won't work. Maybe playoff experience really isn't nearly as valuable as hockey people think it is, and who cares? They believe it is. And if they believe it is, and this is a key part of them making their plan work the way they envision it working, then I want to see them make the playoffs because I want to see their plan work.
It would be nice. I would really like to see it work. It's been so long, Charlie. It's been so long, since we've covered playoff hockey.
What's the Titanic meme? It's like it's been 70
years. 84 years. Yeah, it's been a real freaking long time. So I would really like to see it work personally. Asset management wise, rebuild wise, yeah, trade him because you might be able to get way more than he's worth. But
I just think
I want to cover playoff hockey. Damn it!
I just think their view is that the developmental value they will get from being in the first round of the playoffs and playing meaningful games in March and April and having that like we did it is more valuable than another late first round pick. I think that's their view.
All right, and that's why the future is bright, ladies and gentlemen. It took us a while to get there. But the future is bright.
We got 4 minutes left in the show.
We're going over.
We're in 126 likes. We have over 400 people watching the show live. Hit that like button, folks.
I've already guaranteed overtime on Twitter, so that's the way it's going to be, Charlie.
I can't. I'm not going to do the buzzer yet. I was about to. I got to wait until we actually get to overtime.
We still have a few minutes before the buzzer, but it's just going to happen today. The future is bright because there's a lot of guys in this organization who need a look, and re-signing him, as much as it kind of makes a little bit of sense, it really doesn't. And two, they could make the playoffs, and that is a really bright future for me personally.
I could see them re-signing him. It's just not a move I would necessarily agree with.
Okay. All right. Real quick, because we talked about you talked about this on Sunday's post game. I wasn't here. I want to talk about Dan Vladar real quick. I want your opinion on this. Now, Ersson starts the Avs game on Sunday. The team had 3 days off. Ersson had started the previous game. Vladar hadn't played since that Monday. So he had a decent amount of time off, considering he's the #1 goalie. That's how it's been to this point. Vladar made his 17th start last night. He's over 1,000 minutes played for the season. His career highs, 29 starts and 30 appearances, just about 1,800 minutes played. He's on pace to shatter both of those by mid-January. We're talking about this team potentially being in the mix down the stretch and even extending the season into a postseason. Post-Olympics, they have 26 games in 49 days. That's well over a game every other day, and then maybe the playoffs. Do you think the workload could become a concern and they're going to back off of it a little bit? And do you think that may have weighed into the decision to, play the other guy against a team that averages more shots on goal than any other team in the league?
Maybe a little. Maybe. I mean, because Kim Zillaball manages all this stuff, to be sure. He's the guy who's, advising Rick Tocchet on who to play on a given night. But Rick Tocchet has a lot of input, too. And I think it is just as possible that Rick Tocchet just looked at it and said, all right, last time Dan Vladar played, he stunk. Last time Sam Ersson played, he was good. I want Sam Ersson again. I want to see what he can do. And it's worth noting, look, I don't think Ersson was incredible against Colorado, but
he was fine.
He's fine. And his save percentage over the last 4 games is .905. So maybe they're looking at it. Maybe it plays into what you're saying, where it's like, yeah, we don't want to overuse Vladar. And now Ersson's playing better.
To a point we don't have to overuse.
So, yeah, he's playing well enough that we don't feel like we have to overuse Vladar because it's the only way we can get wins. So now maybe let's get it back to, a little bit more of like a 60-40 rather than a 70-30 and 80-20.
And with that, we're headed to overtime. head to allphly.com to continue watching. All right, we can do this other conversation another day. I have to pay a debt. We had our Giving Tuesday, what was that, last week or whatever? It was the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, where we solicited donations. Charlie has already paid his. He wore his mustache on a post game. I wanted him to grow a real one. We couldn't convince him of that. I think he'd look great, but, you know, everyone has their own style. I promised cartwheels to the people. We got, what, 6 or 7? I have to do 6.
Okay, you're not going to do them all in one day.
No, we're going to do these one a day, and I'm going to do them live so that there's not any sort of accusations of video editing. We all know how great a producer Brenna is.
We got a wire from the ceiling, actually. Yeah.
So we are, this is green screen behind me. I'm actually in my house right now. No, we are going to do this live. I have not attempted this since high school. So we're going to see how this goes now. I am going to do one every show for the next 6 shows. Let's get number 1 in. All right, we got to zoom out a little. I don't want to throw my shoes everywhere.
The shoes are off,
Take
folks.
those off.
The hoodie is off as well.
All right, we got super
This is
chat.
serious business here, folks.
Let's move the chair out of the way. Let me think about how I do them. This way. This way. All right. Need you.
All the way?
All right. Where
All right, here we go.
All right. I'm in screen still. I really just don't want to break anything. All right.
Hey!
I think I broke something. No, I'm all right.
I hope you're serious. Like,
No,
is he serious? Is he serious?
That was so much harder than I thought it was going to be. All right, we're gonna have to practice that a couple times before the next one.
I really thought you like broke
really
your ankle.
thought I was gonna be able to get my legs up a lot better than I did, but that counts as 1. We have 5.
You got
more.
one. You got one,
We have
folks.
5 more to go. After that, as long as I don't end up in the emergency room, let's get to those super chats. All right, first one here is from Purple Crayon. Purple Crayon says, been absent during the live shows. Here's some back taxes. Additionally, when will Charlie sport a permanent mustache? Well, no mustache is permanent.
Yeah,
I mean, you can always shave it off.
Sure.
I would love for Charlie to grow the permanent mustache.
I have zero. I've had facial hair before.
You have.
I've had a beard, and I guess a mustache included in a beard. I have no desire to grow facial hair again.
Okay.
That's where I'm at. And if I ever did grow facial hair again, I would feel very weird with just a mustache.
Not a handlebar?
Yeah, that would seem very weird to me. But like, I am in the point where I don't want to grow facial hair. So like, but that's a requirement to have a mustache. That's where I'm at.
All right. Well, it makes sense. Thanks, Pert. All right, from David Shub. I love Michkov, but he hasn't truly shown us the work ethic yet. He has given us a lot of quotes about it. We took him at his word. He overhyped himself.
I disagree with that. I think that's unfair. That's unfair. Now, I think I've heard stories from people on the team about how hard he works in the gym. And we've seen after he came over, he was like getting on the ice the very next day in Voorhees. Like, we've seen it. It's just that this summer, and again, like, kid's 20 years old. If he blew off some steam one summer, it's not the end of the world, which is what I've been saying the whole time. It's just, it can't be a regular thing. He's got to, next summer, just put his head to the ground and do all the work and show that he really does have, to use a Rocky term, the eye of the tiger. And I think he will.
As we said just a minute ago, we're not even at the halfway point of the season yet, and he's been like, yeah, probably got to stick around next summer. Yeah. Like, it's not even Christmas
again,
yet.
It plays into why I'm not ultimately all that worried, because I do think he has that internal drive. I just think maybe he let it slip one summer.
We have heard him talk like twice this season, and both times he's been like, yeah, I effed up. Like, yes, maybe the work ethic wasn't there overall this summer. I'm not ready to say like he let us down beyond kid messed up. He was 20 years old, rich for the first time. Like,
I just think if you're seriously giving him crap for this, like beyond just like, well, it's a bummer that we're not seeing the best version of Matvei Michkov.
Yeah, like I'm mad
in
about
his second year. Like, if you're seriously giving him crap for it, like you kind of need to look into a mirror and remember what you were like when you were 20.
Well, I could do cartwheels back then, but all right. Next one, also from David. I envisioned him pushing boulders up mountains, to be honest. We both talked about that.
Yeah.
This summer, we were like, a little surprised we haven't seen some of those, like, again, Rocky reference, like some like serious Moscow like climbing mountains.
Even like back in I think this was probably like when he was like 21, 22. Cam York, where he had that one workout video where he had like the chains on his back, like just that sort of thing.
That sort of stuff.
I was expecting more of that from Michkov this summer. My guess is that next summer we will be getting a lot of that.
I hope so.
Because I would assume that he knows what the narrative is about him, and he's going to want to, bury that and then, fly it into the sun.
Wait, was it what? Provorov pushing tires up hills,
Yeah,
like that sort of stuff. So maybe. All right. This one, David again. Who has a higher ceiling, Michkov or Martone?
I think Michkov has the higher scoring ceiling. Who has the higher all-around ceiling? Maybe. I still think Michkov, but it's closer. Like if you're talking about, all-around impact, Martone is not that far behind. But I just think that Michkov's plausible scoring upside is so high that I think I would still put Michkov ahead in terms of plausible upside.
All right. Yeah, I can't talk about what Martone's upside is. Like, I haven't seen him do anything in the NHL. Like, I know one guy's an NHL player. That's like,
Like Martone's upside is probably Mikko Rantanen, which is great.
That's pretty awesome.
It's like a 100-point player.
That's a really great player.
If Michkov hits, he could be, 120, 130-point player.
It'd be nice to have them both. Oh, we do. All right. Next one here is from JH. JH says, Michkov isn't leaving. The hellscape of Twitter just needs 24/7 drama. And even if he was scoring a hat trick every game, people would want him traded.
Yeah, I don't know
if anyone wants him traded.
Does anybody want him traded? I think it's less that people want him traded, and it's more that people are scared he's going to be traded.
Yeah.
There probably are crazy people that do want him traded. Now, they should be dismissed out of hand because they're just wrong.
Again,
or they're Paul Bisonette.
Yeah, well, exactly. Biz also in that same segment was like, I think the Leafs are getting him. Like talking about Quinn Hughes, and they're like, "Dog, we know you're making that up. Because we know you just want him on the Leafs. Like they're not getting him, So
sometimes I do have to recalibrate. Like when there's a checklist thing that pops up, I was like, okay, how much of this is real and how much of this is them just like being drunk at the bar?
Yeah. All right. This one is Lyndon. I hope last night was the end of Zamula. Welcome, Ty. I hope he gets some run. We'll see how long it even lasts because like they have 2 injured defensemen coming back relatively soon.
I think this might be the last game because if you think about it, like I don't know what is going to be the end. Like the end of Zamula, if there is an end, it might be the return of Risto. Because to me, it's like, okay, even if Murchison has a really good game on Thursday, which he very well might. He was very impressive last night. But even if he has a really good game on Thursday, presumably he's coming out of the lineup for York. And you don't want a still developing prospect sitting as the 7. You're just going to send him back because he's waiver exempt and have him play a bunch in the AHL. Just now have him be like one of the first guys who's a call-up option if somebody else gets hurt. Whereas Zamula, yeah, he can be the 7. Who cares? You probably have to make the decision on Zamula once Risto is ready to come back because then it's like, okay, well, we got to remove a guy from the roster to activate Risto from IR. That's when you really reach the pivot point of what do we do with Zamula?
I do wonder, though, just because the best hockey Zamula has played has been with Risto, if it's like, well, let's see if this works, or we kind of know who our 6 best are and you're not one of them. Like, I wonder if it's going to continue to be more of a rotation or how that goes, but we'll have to wait and see on that. All right. This one is from, I have no idea. Aviato R9? Aviator? Oh, that's an R. Okay.
This is we're like going back to like early 2000s like style AIM screen.
Yeah, it's like AIM screen name.
That's wild. I never thought I would see like a font and style done in that way ever again in my life.
That's making me dizzier than the cartwheel.
Then we're going back to the era of away messages where people are putting song lyrics in their away messages that tell you like who they had crushes on.
Due to the way Danny chose to rebuild, do you think the Canucks know Danny's only option is to acquire high-end talent and it's to trade for it? Could this drive up the price for Hughes because of it?
I think the price for Hughes is going to be high regardless.
Yeah, I mean, Hughes is a legit superstar. And
does it play in the negotiation? Sure, it might.
They're also driving down the price of their best chip simply because, like, one, they're like, yeah, man, we need like NHL pieces so we can stay competitive. It's, well, you're trading your best player, so that's probably not an option. And 2, the GM prepared everyone to be moving on for this. Like, not anyone is like, oh yeah, here's our best player, our best prospect, and a first because you're gonna lose this guy anyway. Like, that's not gonna happen.
Here's an interesting thing I just thought of, and this is entirely stated because I think Vancouver Canucks are a very poorly run franchise.
They are.
There's all this talk about how like they want to get NHL players in this deal. They don't want to get worse. Are they dumb enough to take Christian Dvorak as like a major piece of this deal? I know they were one of the teams trying to sign him in the offseason.
We know that Nashville wanted Nesbitt. Was Vancouver also on that list?
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious. All right. Next one here is.
And I'm not saying that because Dvorak's bad. I'm just saying like Vancouver,
a 30-year-old middle six.
By trading, if you're trading Quinn Hughes, you should be trading him for as much assets as you can. You should not be worried about like, well, we got to stay competitive. I got news for you. You just traded Quinn Hughes. Hughes, you ain't going to be competitive. You're not competitive anymore. You stink. You're bad.
They want maybe their 3 games of playoff gate revenue. Like, that's really how they're run. They're run like a mid-market team.
But they're not going to get them because they just traded Quinn Hughes right after trading JT Miller. Like, they're not going to be good.
I'm not saying they're a well-run organization. I'm telling you their owner is a dummy.
Which is why I'm saying, like, are they dumb enough to be like, yeah, we almost signed Christian Dvorak, and he'll keep us good. We need a center, and he's out on pace for 55 points. Let's get him and try to re-sign him.
Dave asked something I've been wondering. Why can't we groom some of our young wing prospects for center? It's a difficult move.
It's a very difficult move.
I think some guys can do it. I would be interested in experimenting with it at the AHL level, but first those guys have to master what they're being asked to do before they get something else on their plate.
That's the big thing. And I just don't know, Barkey's already small for a wing. You're not going to turn him into a center, even though he did play center in the OHL. He's pretty much exclusively a wing now. Bump, I just don't see as a guy. Like, he thrives along the boards. Like, that's more his game. He's a guy. He takes pucks to the middle, but he likes to
comes off the wall.
Comes off the wall to take pucks to the middle. I don't see his style, particularly offensively, being conducive to being center. Martone, we talked about. To me, it's like he's so good on the wing. At the very least, you want to have him begin his NHL career on the wing, and then maybe if 2 years down the road you see enough where you're like, man, he's gives the total package. Let's try him at center. I'm open to it, but that can't be like the solution. That's an experiment. Maybe you do a couple years down the road if everything else goes perfectly.
I mean, they're not playing one of their centers at center right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're ready to experiment with straight up wingers. All right. Next one is from Grezosaur. Bill is actually quite nimble. I am way less nimble than I thought. I have a bet with some friends that I can run a 7-minute mile. I'm worried about it now.
Good luck, man.
When I'm not on a show for another week, it's because I died. All right. Next one, another one here. Brenna might want to keep some wrist braces on hand.
Honestly, not wrong.
It was my shoulder. I thought my shoulder was going to come out of the socket. I have way too much weight to support, apparently. Next one, I think this is the last one here from JH. I just saw Tom Selleck fall to his knees in a Wawa in Florida because they have them. They have them here. I still think it's weird.
There's a lot of Wawas in Florida. I think he's just saying shocking that there's Wawas in Florida.
Oh yeah, they have them. I think they sell booze too.
There's Wawas in Florida for a long time.
Yeah.
That was like the first place they went because there's so many transplants.
Yeah,
there's so many Philly people who moved down to Florida.
No, when I used to work spring training down there, it was like, who's ever stopping for breakfast? Like, yeah, we're hitting Wawa. Yeah. Tell me what you want. It was fun. All right, that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for hanging out. If you haven't already, gotta hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on YouTube so you can see me do things like injure myself live on camera. You gotta follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers and follow the podcast wherever you get those. And I'm not going to end the show without mentioning we did this last night, and I'm going to keep doing it until someone tells me to stop. They're not going to because, people here have hearts. Our own co-host, our very favorite, Kelly Hinkle. She needs a little bit of our help. As you can see here, her niece was recently diagnosed with leukemia, which I cannot imagine anything worse, quite honestly. We know how the healthcare system works here. The bills are going to be astra-freaking-nomical. Anything you can do to help our dear friend Kelly and her family would be greatly appreciated. We realize this time of year, lots of people asking you for a lot, but if you can spare a couple of bucks to help out our friend, we would greatly appreciate it. All right, that is it for us. My name is Bill Matz. That is Charlie O'Connor. Thank you to Brenna. As always, be excellent to each other.
We all silly like the mayor.